Today we'll be making 2 Christmas gingerbread wreaths. Welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. Hello, Stillwater's friends. How are you today? Come on in. Welcome, welcome. I've had a request here on the channel to make a Christmas gingerbread wreath, and so today we're going to do just that, but we're actually going to do something even more exciting. Instead of making 1 gingerbread wreath, we're actually going to make 2. So what we're doing today, friends, this is actually the first time I've ever done a double wreath tutorial here on the channel. So double wreaths are perfect for folks that are going to use the wreaths indoors, who may have large double doors on the front of their home, perhaps for a business. Of course, you could also, separate these and just make one or the other based on your preference. But it is going to be a load of fun. So if you are new here to the channel, welcome, welcome. Stillwaters is all about DIY step-by-step wreath and door swag tutorials. So if you like that sort of thing, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications so that you can create with us every week. And for my friends that have been with me for a while, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and thank you for being here again with us today. As always, I will leave a full materials and supplies list for you below in the description of this video so that you can recreate this beauty if you'd like to do so. Of course, if you would rather just purchase one or both of the wreaths that we're making today, I'll leave a link for that for you below as well. So let me show you the 2 signs that I got, friends. These are so stinking cute. So I've got a boy gingerbread and a girl. These guys without the stakes are about, 16 inches in height, so probably 10 inches in width. And I actually got these from the Dollar Tree, and they were only $3 a piece. Excuse me, Dollar General. And what I like about using yard picks, which is what these are intended for, they're heavy duty, they're already made to withstand weather and the elements. And these stakes that are meant to poke your guy down into the ground work really well to help you anchor them down into your wreath base. So let's set these guys off to the side and I'll show you what we're going to be creating a wreath on today. All right, guys, we're going to be building our wreaths on these 24-inch flocked wreath bases that actually came from Walmart. This is one of my favorite wreath bases to use for the Christmas and winter wreaths because they're beautifully flocked. There's still a good amount of green poking through. Now, like any flocked wreath, guys, they do shed when you first start working with them, but they're also on a double ring. I'm hoping the camera captures that. So you've essentially got 2 layers of the flocked greenery and also some great areas to anchor down your attachments or embellishments. And because we're making double wreaths today, everything we do today, guys, is going to be ×2. So I've never made a double wreath. I'm not sure if my camera is going to be able to get everything into view. I sure hope it does. So I'm going to be fluffing the wreath base out just like we do for all wreaths, guys. Like I always say, even if you grab them from the store and they don't really have any shipping compression, they're still always a little bit pitiful and they need fluffed. So by fluffing, I'm just opening up these pine ties, spreading them out, making sure some poke towards the center, some towards the outside, and some straight up. So we're just waking this guy up. So I'm going to take just a couple of minutes here to fluff out both of our wreath bases. All right, guys, I've got both of my wreath bases fluffed out, and I'm going to just take a second here and hold up this tag so that if you want to snag some from your local Walmart, you can do so. But there's the tag. If you want to screenshot that, you're welcome to do so. All right, guys, we are not going to be adding any deco mesh into these wreath bases. So the end result of these wreaths will be our super cute gingerbread men and women, a very large bougie bow, and several different embellishments that we'll be adding in on top of this beautiful flocked base. So we're not going to add any deco mesh in. And if you're new to making double wreaths, you know, there's a couple ways that you can go about creating your wreaths. I typically build them both at the same time and bounce back and forth between the two. So we just fluffed out one wreath, so I fluffed out the next wreath. I'll add both of my gingerbread men and women into each of the wreaths, and then my bows, and so on. So you can certainly create it that way, or you can build one from start to finish and then the other, whatever you feel most comfortable with doing. And so my vision is that each wreath will have a gingerbread on the side, or woman, and then great big bougie bows towards the center, and then lots of embellishments. And I'm going to put my gingerbread friends on opposing sides, and then the bows towards the center, just in case someone does purchase both of these. They will look nice on a set of double doors. And so we'll start out with our gingerbread man. And what I'm going to do, guys, at the top of my gingerbread man, if you pick up these same fellows from Dollar General, it's got a support piece that runs up the back, and I'm going to use a thin gauge 16-inch floral wire stem and run underneath that support wire to anchor this down. You're also going to want to have your hot glue gun plugged in. I apologize, I should have mentioned that earlier. So I'm going to place one floral wire towards the top and one towards the bottom. Once I get that ran through here, then I'm just going to, as you can see, give it a couple of loose twists just to keep that guy from coming undone. If that wire is really close on your gingerbread guy, just take your needle nose pliers and pull up gently. It's going to give you just enough gap to slide that wire right through there. I'm going to lay him off to the side and do the same thing to the second gingerbread. So now I'm going to attach my gingerbread man. I want my gingerbread man to the far right of the first wreath, and then the gingerbread lady to the far left of her wreath base. And I'm going to just tuck in both of these support spikes and nestle them down into our wreath base, and then I'll secure our gingerbread man to the base of our wreath by running these floral wire stems right through the side of our wreath. Folks, when you're attaching your gingerbread man or woman to your wreath base, make sure it's getting around the ring of your wreath base. And you just want to wrap it around that innermost ring so that your customers don't see it. I've just given them each a loose twist, and then I'm going to flip it over and make sure that I'm happy with his placement. I am. He's sitting right where I want him to be. So now I'm going to flip it back over. I'll give each of these ties 3 or 4 tight twists so that we know he's nice and anchored down. And then I'm going to take my small wire snips and just trim off the excess bit of floral wire. Once you've trimmed off that excess bit of floral wire, go ahead and take your needle nose pliers and just curl them back and under after you've pinched those ends together. That way, if you or your customer grab your wreath, right there, you aren't going to get poked. And then I just like to run a quick bead of glue right where that floral wire stem meets our wreath base, just to give it a little bit of an extra adherence and to keep him from sliding around. How cute is that? So we'll set our ginger fella off to the side, and now we'll do the exact same thing with our second. Only this time we'll be putting the girl on the left-hand side. All right, guys, we've got our gingerbread men and women anchored down into our wreath. Now, your spokes that are sticking down from your gingerbread friends here, you can either trim them off with some heavy-duty bolt cutters, or you can just find a neighboring pine tie on your wreath and just kind of wrap it around those legs to kind of anchor them in and give them a good little disguise. That's typically the route I go unless they're sticking out greatly, because it gives it some extra strength and stability and support. How stinking cute, guys. All right, next up we're going to make our bows. So we're going to put one immediately across from our gingerbread friends on both of our wreaths. So I'm going to scoot these guys back a little bit. All right, so I've actually got 4 different ribbon types that we're going to be using today. I've got this super cute 2.5-inch gingerbread ribbon. And then I've got 3 1.5-inch ribbons. We've got some lime green, white, and red glitter, a solid red glitter, and then a lime green glitter with some red and white striped edging. So guys, let's go ahead and make our bows. And remember, we're going to make 2 bows exactly the same. I'm going to show you an easier way to make your bows when you want them to be identical. Go ahead and grab the ribbon that you've chosen. I've got the 4 different ribbon types that I've shown you, a good pair of scissors, and 2 12-inch pipe cleaners that match the color of your bow. And I want you to cut your first ribbon choice, in our case here, this is our 2.5-inch gingerbread ribbon. So we're going to cut 2 strips at 52 inches in length of our gingerbread ribbon. Once you measure the first one, you can just use that as a guide for your second one. So I'm going to lay those off to the side. Our next ribbon choice will be this pretty lime green with red edging. And we're going to cut 2 pieces at approximately 47 inches in length. And we're going to lay that beside our gingerbread so that we can keep our order straight. Next up, we've got our 1.5-inch red, white, and lime striped. We're going to cut 2 strips of this at 37 inches in length. And this is just approximate, guys. There's no magic number for bow making, and nobody's going to be measuring your ribbon. And last, we've got our 1.5-inch red, and we're going to be making that 37 inches in length as well. And then we're going to do 2 more pieces of the solid red at 22 inches in length. All right, now that we've got all of our ribbon strips pre-cut and laying down in the order that we're going to go ahead and take both of your pipe cleaners and just kind of fold them into a loose V. That'll just help us secure our bows once we're ready to do so. Just like so. And now we're going to start with our gingerbread. And basically what I want you guys to do is make something similar to an awareness ribbon. So I have this laying in a sloppy U shape right in front of me. We want those ends to be nearly the same length. They don't have to be perfect, of course. I'm making an awareness ribbon. And then I'm going to pinch and gather in the center and then pull that back piece down into my hand as well. Make sure your loops are nearly the same height. And then scrunch and gather that into your hand like so, and hang on to it. Now we're going to do the same thing with the green. If it's difficult for you to hang on to it while you're making your loops, just use a chip clip or something to hold it, or a bow maker. So I've got piece number 2 laying in front of me. I'm going to cross one over on top of the other so it looks like an awareness ribbon. And I'll pinch that together in my hand and bring that back down together. We're going to make sure those loops are the same. I can tell by looking that they are, but you can marry them up to ensure. Pinch and gather that middle and lay that right on top of the gingerbread bow that we just made. And now we're going to do the same thing with the green and white and red stripe, excuse me. I'm going to lay it into a loose U. Going to cross it over and make an awareness ribbon, making sure that my tails are nearly the same length. I'm going to fold that back down into the middle of my hand. Make sure those loops are the same length. Give them a good pinch in the middle and lay that right on top of my hand. So as you can see, we're layering our bows. And guys, your bows aren't going to be pretty at first. That's just the truth of bows. Onto the longer piece of red. Lay that into a loose U shape. Make your awareness ribbon so that your tails are pretty side up and essentially the same length. Scoot that awareness piece back down into your hand and then scrunch and gather, lay it on top. So we've just added our third layer. And last but not least, our little piece of red. This one's a little bit different, guys. You're going to lay this in your hand pretty side up. You're going to twist that underneath your thumb. Make a single little loop. That might be 1.5 inches to 2 inches. Twist it in your hand, and both of your tails will be going the same way. Now, take your pipe cleaner that we've already made into a V and place that right around the center of your ribbon bow stack. And you're going to pull that tight, 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 and give it several tight twists, just like that. And so this is what it's going to look like, guys. Again, they are not pretty when you start. That's okay, we're going to fix that. But for now, set that guy off to the side and repeat those same steps to make your second ribbon. All right, we've got both of our bows made, and you know, they're a little bit of a raggedy mess. That's just how bows are when you make them by hand. And all I want you to do now, guys, is just pull your tails so that they're pointing down on each of your bows here. And then we're going to add them into our wreath before we fluff them. So once you've got both of your bows with the tails pointing down, the loops are still not super cute. They're just kind of a mess of ribbon at this point. We're going to add our bows into both of our wreaths. And so we're going to put them directly across from our gingerbread friends and basically right below where their arms are. So pretty much in the center. And you're just going to take your pipe cleaner and run them right through your wreath base. And then flip it over. Find those pipe cleaners, and you want them to run around both rings of your wreath. And then you're going to give them a quick twist or two, just enough to hold it in place. Flip your wreath back over. Make sure it's basically where you want it. And remember, we're not looking for it to be cute yet. We just want it to be in the right spot. And it is. Once you're happy with that placement, spin that guy back around. Continue to twist those ends so it's nice and secure. And with your fingers, just push that tail kind of back into the wreath. Grab your hot glue gun and run about 1 inch or so of glue right over where that pipe cleaner meets the wreath. We'll leave it upside down so that can dry for just a jiffy. And then we're going to slide our first wreath off to the side so that we can do the exact same thing with our second wreath. So guys, let me just give you a little pro tip here. When you are adding your second bow and you're making sure that they are where you want them to be, put your wreath side by side because you essentially want those bows directly beside one another. So while your second wreath is upside down and those little drops of glue are drying where you've added them to the pipe cleaner, go ahead and bring your first wreath back, and we're going to fluff out our bow. And we're going to call this our Ruff Fluff, guys. And so all I'm going to do is basically have my gingerbread loops. I'm going to open them up first. They're going to be horizontal. And then we're going to make an X with the two green themed going in opposing directions, if you can see that, like so. Then we'll have our red longer loops going straight across. And then a little teeny, what I call a button loop, will be right in the center of our bow. How stinking cute. And again, this is the Ruff Fluff. We're going to come back in once we're totally done. At this point, we're just making sure that we like the way that everything is laying. So once you've got your Ruff Fluff done, go ahead and grab your scissors, and I'm just going to angle trim all of my ends. You could dovetail if you preferred. And then we're going to give them a little bit of a curl. Once you've angle trimmed your ends, we're going to curl our tails, and let me show you my quick and easy trick for ribbon tail curling. This is actually a cardboard tube that was at the center of some 10-inch deco mesh. Well, once I had used it up, I just kept that in my toolbox because it's the perfect diameter. It's probably an inch or so to curl our ribbon tails. And to curl your tails, guys, you're just going to literally, kind of like a curling iron, roll that ribbon right around that tube and then pull that tube out. So let's take a second and get these all curled. And as you curl them, you can make them as tight or as loose as you like, just by pulling on those tails a little bit. And if you're not happy with the curl, just curl it again. That's the glory of using wired ribbon. How stinking cute is that? All right, let's do the exact same thing to our second wreath. How stinking cute is that, guys? Oh my goodness. Our gingerbread wreaths are turning out to be so adorable already. All right, the next thing we're going to do is cut 2 pieces of the gingerbread ribbon at 18 inches in length. And 2 pieces of our solid red 1.5 inch glitter ribbon at 14 inches in length. And we're going to make some ribbon tails to add to the bottom of each of our wreaths. Remember, what we do to one wreath, we're doing to the next. And so what we're going to do, friends, is take 1 piece of our gingerbread ribbon, lay that down in our work area. Then we're going to lay the piece of red right in the center. So you essentially got the same distance, about 1.5 inches or so on each end. Fold that ribbon stack in half and give it a bend here just to help identify that center point. And then I want you to pinch and pleat that together so it kind of looks like a men's bow tie. And fold that down over your thumb. Come back to your wreath. And we're going to add that in to our pine ties right below where our our bow ended. So just find 2 neighboring pine ties and give those guys a twist. You can straighten out your bow tails if you need to. Then grab your scissors and angle trim your ends. You can curl those if you would like. I'm just going to take my fingers and run the ribbon between my fingers and pull it up and then towards myself. Which will give that ribbon a cute little curvature and a bump, just like that. And then we're going to do the exact same thing and place it right above our bow. So again, I'm just going to find a couple of neighboring ties here. Give those ribbon tails a couple of tight twists. I'm going to angle trim my ends. Spin that guy upside down for just a minute, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to run those tails through my fingers and kind of pull them up and towards me, which gives them some height and curvature. You could also curl it if you prefer. How adorable. All right, guys, let's do the exact same thing to our second wreath. Oh my goodness, you guys, how stinking cute are these? All right, we may add some more ribbon tails in towards the end, but for now, let's go ahead and get our embellishments added in. So hopefully your glue gun is nice and hot. I'm going to show you some of the things I grabbed, guys. I'm not sure what we will and won't use, but I have 4 of these yarn lollipops from Hobby Lobby. They are 3 inches in diameter. I grabbed a couple of mini ball picks, a couple of even smaller ball picks, and a few red glitter twigs. So what I'm going to do is take the plastic and tags off of all of these, and then we'll dry place them into the wreath, and then we'll hot glue them down. And just remember, as you add your embellishment, friends, what you do to one wreath, do the exact same thing for the other wreath. Also, when you're working with your picks, guys, nearly always they're on a nice wire spine. So whether you got them at the store or online, make sure you fluff them out and bring those guys to life. And also, when you glue them in, you only need a few inches, 2 to 3 inches, to get a good adherence. So trim off any excess bit so that it doesn't poke through the backside. Let's take a look at these beauties. I'm hoping the camera can get at least the majority of them in there for you, but how stinking cute did they turn out, guys? Once that glue has been given an hour or so to dry, You can fluff and reposition any of those picks that you've added in, but it just looks adorable. I hope you enjoyed creating with me today. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps my little channel to grow. I'll be sure to add a picture of both of these beauties hanging up at the end of this video. Thanks, friends. Happy crafting.